Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Tonight,
Dr. Kissinger and I have talked for a long time about the future of the world.
oh, I bet they have. Protected by thousands of police, their private conversations are about to resume at Bilderberg 2015. And what directed energy weapon system would be complete without science fiction sound effects? All that and more on tonight's Infowars Nightly News.
Well, we are just days away from the official start of the Bilderberg Conference 2015, where the world's elite are going to gather to plot the future. Now, considering we are the only media outlet in the Western Hemisphere that's going to tell you anything about the Bilderberg Group, we're going to be covering it heavily this week. Our reporters are there once again on the ground, going to try and bring you any intel that we can. But you've got to look to sites like RT.com or The Independent or The Guardian to even get any minuscule reporting on what's happening there, even though this is like the world's most powerful people meeting in secret. Now, this is at the top of Drudge right now. You'll find this at The Independent. They're saying 4 things we know about the secret of Bilderberg Group and 1 thing we'll never know. So we know where the meetings are held, we know who attends them, we know what's on the agenda, and we know they take security very seriously. We've had plenty of videos showing just how seriously they take it year after year. But they say we'll never know what was said. People who attend the events don't, as a rule, talk about the specifics of what was discussed. This includes politicians whose job it is to represent their constituents. And then they just go on to regurgitate the Bilderberg press release, which just reiterates the fact that there are no minutes taken, no reports are made, no conclusions reached, no votes are taken. We know it's just a bunch of the world's most powerful people sitting around and having a polite conversation, right? Right. So we're going to give you a little flashback. This was from 2010, and it's from a former NATO security general as well as a Bilderberg attendee, and he spilled the beans a little bit to a radio station, saying Bilderberg decides the world's political and economic policies. Surprise, surprise, just because they're not taking votes or minutes, they are actively discussing what is going on in the world and what they have planned going forward. They say Bilderberg attendees are mandated to implement the political and economic decisions that are made during this secretive meeting. This was Bilderberg member Willie Clays. Now, Clays said that attendees are normally given around 10 minutes to talk, and then they receive a summarization of what's been discussed during this meeting, and they're expected to use it when setting policies in the political and economic spheres in which they have influence. And that's why you'll see so many powerful people from so many different industries. Now, Clays also goes on to say that the participants are then obviously considered to use this report in setting their policies in the environments in which they affect. So, of course, this is once again just confirmation of what we already know, because year after year we see the leaked agenda, and then we see those things play out in the real world time and time again. Now, here Paul Joseph Watson has a very in-depth report. We're going to show you just the last 2 minutes of it where he sums up what's on this year's Bilderberg agenda.
Bilderberg's 2015 talking points and agenda for the next 12 months. Further isolating Russia over Ukraine, arming Ukrainian militias and potentially stoking a major confrontation with NATO, strangling financial support for Hillary Clinton's potential 2016 presidential competitors, the elites positioning themselves as financial saviors when more riots and civil unrest unfold, moving towards the abolition of cash and imposing economic totalitarianism, discrediting the Out campaign for the United Kingdom's EU referendum, rebranding authoritarianism in anticipation of the coming economic collapse, finalising the TPP as the next pillar of global government, dismantling China and the BRICS countries' ability to challenge the unipolar system, selling artificial intelligence and Big Brother surveillance as trendy and cool in order to fool the general public into adopting technology that will eviscerate their financial livelihoods and personal privacy. So that's what we know so far about the real agenda behind Bilderberg 2015, with more leaks and information to come. I'll be travelling out to Austria to join Infowars reporters Rob Dew and Josh Owens, so be sure to check out the other videos on this channel and the Alex Jones channel as we lead the coverage for Bilderberg 2015. I'm Paul Joseph Watson reporting for Infowars.com.
In the name of stopping ISIS, they're going to impose more capital controls on individuals. So France from September is already banning cash transactions over €1,000. That's what Bilderberg's going to talk about, because the very people there are allied with the institutions and the voices that are talking about abolishing cash altogether eventually.
So it's very ironic that Bilderberg attendees are going to be discussing capital controls on consumers when several of the big banksters are going to be in attendance. HSBC is about to pay $40 million in a money laundering fine. And Douglas Flint, he's the group chairman of HSBC Holdings. He's going to be there in attendance along with Stuart Levy, who is HSBC's chief legal officer, and Rona Fairhead. She's an HSBC director and chairwoman of the BBC Trust. I wonder if we're going to hear anything on the BBC about this. Now, HSBC was just ordered by Geneva authorities to pay around $43 million for its Swiss subsidiaries' involvement in illegal money laundering. This is during which HSBC's Swiss arm banked the proceeds of political corruption and accepted deposits from arms dealers while helping wealthy people evade taxes. Nothing to see here, folks. And I'm not talking about the time they were fined $1.9 billion in 2012 for pretty much the exact same thing. So this is, these are the people that are going to be talking about how they're going to be putting capital controls on you, the consumer, while they are time and time again caught doing all these money laundering and things like that, and they get a little slap on the wrist. I think they pay about 1 month's worth of fines. The total comes out to that percentage there. And of course, they're going to be talking about the abolition of cash, going on to a cashless society, more capital controls on ordinary citizens in the name of stopping tax fraud. And they're also going to be talking about stopping the financing of terror groups like ISIS, as well as discussing new controls on the sale of precious metals throughout Europe. So all sorts of things to, merge us into a cashless society, which is the ultimate aim here in this global governance. We actually have the World Bank whistleblower writing into the Bilderberg Steering Committee. This is Karen Hudes. She worked for the World Bank's legal department for more than 20 years. She was senior counsel there, and she was fired for blowing the whistle on corruption inside the World Bank. And she has been speaking out about this, trying to get anyone who will listen. She says the global elite don't just control these mega corporations, they also dominate the unelected, unaccountable organizations that control the finances of virtually every nation on the face of the planet. She says the global financial system is dominated by a small group of corrupt, power-hungry figures centered around the privately owned U.S. Federal Reserve. And guess what? All of those people are in attendance there at Bilderberg, deciding how to put capital controls on you, the consumer, and move toward a cashless society, as well as artificial intelligence and, of course, how that can be used. I'm sure they're not going to be discussing at all what they're going to be doing for the millions of people who are going to be out of a job here soon, because, of course, they're backing this coming civil unrest. They're going to be figuring out how they can prop themselves up in the position to be the saviors once we do see some societal collapse, which, of course, has been being predicted again and again by billionaires, in fact, who are putting out this warning. Now, on June 8th, Hudes wrote to the Bilderberg Steering Committee, and she told him that the Wizard's projection screen is no longer working. And she goes on to describe why that is so and explains how the global debt facility is working to prevent the global elite from exacting this total monetary control, because the world's monetary gold reserves are held there at the global debt facility. So they're actively working to stop them from, their efforts to exact this monetary control. So basically, we are in endgame territory right here. 2016 is going to be a big year. That's why you see the U.S. and U.S. 2016 elections are also on the agenda. I mean, doesn't that concern anyone when we see, some of Jeb Bush's people, some of Clinton's people there in attendance talking about the U.S. elections? I mean, that's a little bit odd for me, but also they're talking about, this global governance and the slow creep of policing, of the global police force. So the New York Times is reporting how Loretta Lynch is really going to be the Attorney General who's going to exact this global governance. We see that there's a growing body of law that's allowing them to prosecute foreign citizens on U.S. soil. We just recently saw this with the FIFA incident. This is Attorney General Loretta Lynch. She announced that Brooklyn prosecutors had indicted these FIFA officials from the other side of the globe. They indicted them on corruption charges, and in that case, prosecutors chose not to invoke extraterritorial jurisdiction. Instead, they relied on the defendants' use of American banks and American locations to conduct their business meetings, and that was the basis for charging them in federal court. So basically, any banking that you do, if you live in another country, if your bank has other banks that do business with America, your information is going back and forth from your country to America, and they can say that you have connections to American banks. They there can exact some control over any of your transactions there. So this is what is happening. We're seeing this global governance. It's slowly creeping here. That's on the agenda at Bilderberg. That is a huge thing, and that's why we need to have some transparency. Now, Karen J. Greenberg is the director of the Center on National Security at Fordham University School of Law, and she says the United States has become the jailer, the military front, and now the prosecutor of global crimes, particularly terrorism. And we do see the U.S. gearing up to put the troops in places all over the world. We're seeing NATO troops now are doing war games right there outside of Russia, just letting them know that we're going to be getting a little bit more aggressive. That's what Jeb Bush has said. If he's the president, he's going to become a little bit more aggressive there with Putin. So definitely setting up this World War III scenario. And of course, we have seen, what a global police force looks like there, just with the Cobra security team harassing our reporters for the last few days there at Bilderberg, even though the event hasn't even begun. The world's elite haven't even started flying in yet. Now, we reported yesterday that Rob Dew and Josh Owens were stopped at the police checkpoint near their hotel. Their vehicle was searched. The police later showed up at their hotel room. Well, Rob Dew reports that today the hotel manager let him know that the federal authorities were looking for him and Josh because they were concerned about some of the YouTube videos that the guys have posted showing their encounters with police.
Hey, Rob Dew here reporting for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News. While we were shooting our report down in the metal art sculpture garden, talking about the different attendees that were going to be in Bilderberg, I got a call from the hotel manager where we're staying at the hotel apartment up in Buchan. And he wanted to know if I was going to be back anytime today. Because he was up at the office right now. He wanted to see if we could settle up and pay, and he had some other paperwork for me to show the cops when we were driving through the roadblocks to let them know that we were staying there. I said, well, I'm not sure when we're going to be back. We've got to shoot a few reports, and then we're going to head back up to another hotel where Josh is at, probably to shoot the show with Alex, because they have a little bit better internet there. We have 2 hotels, 2 locations, and we got them just for this reason, to make sure that we had enough bandwidth. In case one place didn't have good bandwidth but was closer to Bilderberg, we'd go to the other hotel and get good bandwidth. Anyway, I said, well, that's, I don't know when we're going to be back. Why? What's up? He said, well, the police were here looking for you. I said, really? The police? And I said, they came looking for me? He said, yeah, they wanted to check your passport again. And apparently it was something about some YouTube videos. And he kind of laughed. He was like, ha, ha, ha. I said, really? YouTube videos? And he said, yeah. He said, this was another part I didn't quite understand. He goes, yeah, they're. I go, is it the police that are parked up in the parking lot? Because I'll just go talk to him when I get there. He goes, no. He says, I think they're like from like the FBI office, which could mean it is the Cobra special ops people are interested in talking to us. I don't know if that's a fact, but we did do a report on Cobra, so maybe they want to talk to us. That'll be interesting. Needless to say, I want to file this report before we go up there because we're about to head back up and get some equipment and then head over to Josh's place. And if something should happen, I just want people to know that the police here in Telfs, that's for the big buildup for the G20, are here, and they're asking for me by name, and it has to do with YouTube videos, is what I was told. So with that, Josh is driving around right now so we could file this and upload it. We're down in the Telfs downtown area because they have better cellular bandwidth. And so we're going to file this report, and we'll let you know what happens after I talk to him. Also, we did shoot 2 other reports. We went and interviewed people in Telfs to find out what they thought about Bilderberg. Some people knew about it. I was very surprised. Some people that knew, some people didn't. We even met an American who's living here in Australia. So that report's going to be coming up, and then we Austria, you got it. Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes I say Australia. It just rolls off the tongue better. In fact, somebody said that in the comments. Where they said, when you tell people you're going to Austria, they'll say, I've always wanted to go to Australia. I think it's just the way they sound together. But anyway, we also have another report that we shot about the Bilderberg attendees in the sculpture garden. It's got some really neat metal sculptures. And then, I'm standing next to certain ones talking about some of the attendees that are going to be there. I think the 3 biggest power groups are the media group, the technology group, and then the royalty politic group that will be there for this year's 2015 Bilderberg in Telfs, Austria, and at the Interalpen Hotel, which is right up the road from where we're at now. And once again, the police were looking for me by name. They went to the hotel. And one last thing the manager said, he said, don't be alarmed if they come back at night. Well, I'm going to be definitely alarmed if the police come at night to our little apartment log cabin, because it is not near any main road, and it's definitely going to freak me out. So I hope that doesn't happen. But you never know. We'll see. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just here reporting on the fact that elites are getting together in secret, and the people here are going to have to pay for the security, the massive security apparatus with their tax dollars. So stay tuned for more reports. It's been Rob Dew for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system, or call 1-888-253-3139.